I'm Dave Infante. I go by Dinfante on the internet. Some of you guys may know me as Uncle Dad. Some of you may know me as the chubby writer at Thrillist who insists on being in all the photo shoots. You know, my reputation precedes me in that way. I thought about getting a black turtleneck and some specs and doing the whole Steve Jobs thing up here tonight. So I don't know when I'm going to be in front of this many people with a microphone again before someone takes it away from me. But I have seen myself in a black turtleneck, and I want to spare you guys the nightmares. So I'm pumped to be here. Thank you to the Shorty Awards for having me. Thanks to the whole team for putting this on. This is awesome. It's really fun to be able to come and get together with a ton of different people, including my parents. Shout out to Mom and Dad. Hi, Mom and Dad. They came all the way in from Jersey. My mom is actually asleep right now. You can't tell, but she's this is way past her bedtime. 4 episodes of SVU in. But it's awesome to get everyone together. We have a ton of different people from different walks of life, and we're all going to be talking. Well, I'm going to be talking. You guys are going to be listening. Don't talk. We're going to be talking about content and media and me being a Z-list Snapchat personality and just generally what it is that I do, what you guys are seeing on the internet, what we collectively use apps for, and all that good stuff. And that sounds very abstract. It won't be. I have actual examples, but just wanted to give you sort of a top-down look at what we're going to try to do tonight. With that said, I did tell you guys not to talk just a second ago, but I do definitely want you guys to be engaged. As you can tell, I'm sort of, quiet. No, but I would love to hear from you guys. Maybe don't, if you have a question, please ask it maybe towards the end, but I'm not one of those people who's...
We do a Q&A at the end.
We do a Q&A at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, Q&A at the end, so don't ask any questions just yet, but let's get into it. The mission tonight for me, when I was writing my notes for this, the first draft was really, really terrible because it was full of all these obnoxious buzzwords and these platitudes that you hear at influencer meetings, and it's boring and it's often fluff, and everyone leaves not quite sure what they just heard, but everyone's okay, I guess that's content. That's media. That's the way we do things here. So my mission tonight is to try to be frank with you guys, to tell you stuff that maybe other people who work in this space might not want to talk about as much, stuff that, is a little bit uncomfortable to talk about. And you're going to notice that in my speech, which we're about to start, this is not my speech, this is my pre-speech. We have a whole different draft. One of the through lines is, actually, fucking Jim Gaffigan stole my line, but piece of shit. He said it better than I could, and it's validation. It's about people shouting into the internet void and wanting to feel like someone is there, hearing what they're saying or tweeting or screaming or whatever. And that's something that I don't think that everyone's always ready to talk about in a social media conversation, because it's a little shallow, right? It's selfish, and that's why I'm on the internet, but I don't think everyone's always ready to say that. But I just said it. I'm going to say it again. So with that, let's jump right into it. I was going to start at the beginning, but the beginning's boring, so we're going to come to the beginning in the middle. And at the beginning, we're going to start at Snapchat, which is when I got sort of on the track that I'm on now, with social media being at the forefront of my career as a writer and me having a personality online. So I picked up Snapchat in 2013 or so, I think. I visited my little brother up at school. He was in college, and this was still sort of Snapchat's infancy, but it was powerful on college campuses because young people who have nothing to do but drink and play with their phones are going to drink and play with their phones. So my little brother and his friends drank and played with their phones. They just snapped videos of each other chugging beers, like sometimes from like the other room, and like it would be like reply chug. This still happens on Snapchat. Like reply chug is like still a thing. I don't know how much time. Not just amongst like my brother and his friends, but like I still get like random like reply chugs from like strangers, and I'll be like, it's like 2:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, man. Like, all right, fine. Fuck you. But can I swear? Is that? Yeah. All right. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. Sorry, Mom. But you know, they were using it in the way that I think a lot of people their age were using it, which is like, oh, it's this messaging system. We can send videos to each other. They don't take up data. So what are we going to do? Well, what do we always do? Chug. Like, let's send videos to each other. And so they're like, yo, you got to sign up, you know, college. You gotta sign up for this app. You got to get this app. Snapchat, we all use it to talk to each other, whatever. So I download the app. And then, lo and behold, they all start sending videos of themselves chugging beers to me. And that's the point at which I sort of had like that aha moment where I'm like, this isn't for me yet. Like, this is not an app that I belong on yet because, again, it's 2:30 on a Tuesday, and like my brother's having like the best time of his life, and I'm like staring into a laptop, like wondering why I've made the choices that I have. And I don't wanna, you know, this is the point. The overall point is that I'm depressed, and also that this app at that point wasn't for me yet, right? Like the features that Snapchat had at that time weren't very robust. If you guys use the app, they're still not very robust. But at this time, it was a bare bones messaging app. It was just there to send ephemeral, and everyone thought it was still all about dick pics, like all the time, right? Like, and like, if you like turned on like ABC News, they would just be talking about how like teens are sending dick pics to each other on Snapchat. And it's like, yeah, but it had already gotten away from that, and it was working its way even further away from that. But the turn that it really brought me in on, and the moment at which I decided that, oh man, like I actually get this, and there's use for this for me, and there's utility here, was when they introduced stories. And so in like, I don't know, someone in this room probably knows, I think it was like fall 2013 or so, they introduced the story feature, and that sort of changed the game for me on Snapchat. I saw it, and I sort of immediately had a sense for how powerful it could be. For anyone who doesn't know exactly how the story feature works, it lets you essentially upload rudimentary chronological narratives to your public story, so people who are following it can watch it even if you don't snap it directly to them. And it lives for 24 hours, whereas a normal peer-to-peer snap only lives for as long as it takes the person to watch it. It can be anywhere between 1 and 10 seconds, and then it's gone for good, unless they replay it. Not important. So the story was this new thing. You could stack narrative. You could build characters. You could, you know, one of the things that I did early on was like talk from one side and then swing to the other side and be a totally different person, right? It's like that like really, really bad vaudeville shit, like where you're like, but it works because the platform was so lo-fi, and still is, that like you suspend your disbelief. It's like, okay, cool, like it's a bare bones set, it's a bare bones everything, but I get it. I get what's going on here, and I'm consuming this on my phone, and I like it, or at least I don't hate it, or maybe you do hate it. A lot of people used to send me like hate snaps, because it's all teenagers. Everyone's a teen, like all teens, and teens are so fucking mean. But like they're also, and we're gonna talk about trolls more in general in a minute, but teens are super mean, but they're also so insecure. So as soon as you like back them up, like they'll be like, yo, fuck you, you're fat. And it'll be like, that's not nice, man. And they'll be like, the next snap will be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think you were gonna read this. It's like, all right, like, come on, man, stick to your guns for at least a couple back and forths here, you know? But yeah, no, let's see, what were we talking about? Teens. This is the first time I'm gonna check the paper. Someone keep track. I think I can do it in under 15 checks of my speech, but I'm not sure, so someone, Mom, can you? Okay, Right, so they introduced the story. All right. Oh, here, I wrote down, I was fucking pumped. Actually, you can see that I've bolded parts of the speech. They're little items to remind me of what the sections are. And I think everyone has their own little device to do this. But I noticed while I was reviewing the speech that if you just read the items and not the text in between, it's batshit insane. I'm just going to give you a quick taste of this. So this is how it starts. Nervous, Steve Jobs. Name, free cheese. Thanks for coming. Mom and Dad, free cheese. No bullshit, the beginning, what I snapped. So I guess it sort of evens out in the middle. But also, thanks for the free cheese. I skipped over that part of the speech. But now we talked about it. Anyway, let's get back on track. Back to the stories. I started building them. The way it started for me, the chunk of time I carved out was my commute in the morning. So at the time I lived out in Prospect Heights, which if you're familiar with Brooklyn is sort of the dead center in Brooklyn. And the apartment that I had at the time was like a 12, 13-minute walk from the subway. So it was like in one of those like classic like New York blind spots where like it's like, oh, it's like a great location, and then you're like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's like you have to like snow, sleet, hail, any like you're like, oh, this is awful. Like it's like worse than like living in like New Jersey, and I'm from New Jersey, and like that's what yeah. But on my commute, my girlfriend liked that. She's gonna blush now. I did this 12, 13-minute long walk to the subway, and I started just snapping observational humor as I was going. So I would literally be walking down the sidewalk in Prospect Heights just like this, avoid a person like this. You know. I don't know if there's a camera. I might have to stay here. Sorry. But you know, it was just really basic stuff. I would talk about what I saw on TV last night. I would talk, the World Cup was on at one point while I was sort of developing some of this shtick. So like, I made this horrible pun, and it sort of like stuck with me, and people still like make it back to me in direct snaps. But like one of the German guys' name was Klose, I think, or at least that's like kind of how it was pronounced. And so, and they like blew someone out at some point, and I was like, it wasn't even Klose. And like still people are like, oh, remember like the closer? And it was like this is my legacy. This is this horrible thing. But anyway, it was really sort of freeform because I wasn't putting any effort into it. It was just like I needed to kill some time, and it's either, you know, call my mom who's you know, up early and she's commuting too, and like chat with her, or Snapchat. And at first I would mostly call my mom. And towards the end of my time in Prospect Heights, Mom, I can't, I'm snapping. 26 people need to know what I'm doing. Yeah, but it was, you know, stuff I saw on TV, what the garbage smelled like, selfies with garbage. Actually, like a staggering portion of my brand is just actual garbage. Like in the sense that like it's in bags and smells bad and the whole deal. This is not a metaphor, I'm talking about trash. But you know, it was really basic, and people seemed to like it, but more importantly, I liked it, and it served a purpose in my life, and it amused me, and 25 people were watching it, opening it, then 35 people, then 45, you know, whatever. I got up to about 100, and at this point, I don't have 100 friends, you know. I don't even have 25 friends, so, you know, but 100 friends, you know, 100 people viewing the snaps. And I was like, this is cool, man. This is not just people I know. This is a few people who they know, who don't know me, who are still every day like, oh, like, that wasn't so horrible yesterday. Like, let me check out, like, what this dude's up to today, right? And so that felt really good. It was really like, man, like, this is cool, you know? Like, I feel cool. Which brings us to what I mentioned earlier in the pre-speech, which was validation. And this is sort of what I want to talk about as openly as possible, because I think it's important, and I think a lot of people, when they discuss social media, sort of like don't talk about how social media makes you feel fucking great, which is why you do it. Which is why I do it. Maybe I'm a hopeless narcissist, but I think we all knew that already. But I think it's important to see that a lot of the reason that people are online is to, not in a deep way, but to know that they exist, right? To put a tweet out there and have someone retweet and be like, I get that. That person got me, right? Or to have this many people watching your snaps, and they have no reason to watch my snaps because they're not my friends. These people, something about what I'm doing, they get me. And that's a really cool feeling, and it's hard to quite pin down why, other than that, the hopeless narcissist thing. But I think that there's something to it. I think that it's an important part of the way we live our lives online, and since we live so much of our lives online, it's kind of an important part to our lives, to understanding this shit. So that got a little deep. Two, that's right. So anyway, oh yeah. So Brandon Harvey is a friend of mine. He's a snapper. He's awesome. He's bar none the most positive person I've ever encountered in my entire life. You could be on the Titanic and be like, yo, it's beautiful out here. You see the stars. Fucking dying, dude. Be like, yeah, you stay here. I'm gonna find one of these boats. Billy Zane it, grab the kid and be like, I have a child. He, I think, has a different outlook on social media, and that's fine. Part of this whole thing is that everyone has a different opinion about this shit. His outlook is, I'm online to spread positivity and hope and all that good stuff that I was gonna call shit. And I think that's cool, and I think it's great, and he obviously enjoys it, and so many people that follow him, and I follow him too, they enjoy it and they like that uplifting message. But that's not really what I'm about. I'm about feeling better about myself. No, I'm about showing life as it is. I'm a glass half empty kind of guy. If I'm having if I'm having a bad day, all I want is someone to sit still and listen to my bad day. And if they don't sit still, I'll follow them around and tell them about my bad day. That's my brand, that and garbage. I think that even when you're talking about ranting and why venting feels so good, right? You're looking for that validation. You don't want a solution from the other person. You don't want to let's look for a compromise. No, I just want you to know about this shit that I just dealt with, and I want you to be there, okay? And just take it. And it's terrible if you're on the other side of that. And everyone has been. But validation, not positivity so much, although positivity is nice, but feeling like someone gets it and gets you, okay? I think that's really important to how I think about, in fact, I know it's really important to how I think about my life online, and being direct with myself and understanding when I write what I think is a funny tweet, I want every single person in the world to retweet that. And if they don't, it's a disappointment to me. I'm like, come on, I thought that was funny, man. And then I send it around to people on GChat, and I'm like, yo, it's funny, right? I have a couple coworkers here who can attest to that. That's what I do. I would say 30% of my day, 40, just sending links of stuff I've created. Yeah. But I'm a writer too, so it's a little different, which actually we should start talking about that. So, 3. Probably shouldn't have folded it like this. Oh, right. So back to 100 viewers. 100 viewers, not a lot. Well, it's a lot. It's a lot of people, but it's not Shorty material. So you're probably like, who the fuck is this guy? I told you I was a Z-list Snapchatter, but you're disappointed. But there's more to this story, right? I don't really do social media for a living, so it's not just about the numbers for me. And I don't think it's just about the numbers for for most people that do social media for a living, but I also have this whole other career. I'm a writer. I'm a writer at Thrillist. We talked about it a little bit as I was coming up onto the stage, the floor, and I've written for Thrillist. I write beer features. I write about the restaurant industry. I just did a big history of malt liquor, which was honestly like pretty fucking fascinating. It's a crazy history. You should all go read it, click on the ads, click on everything, just click around. But I think you guys will enjoy it, so go check that out if you want to. I'll send it. Let me know what your Gmail address is, and I'll G-chat you. But I also manage and promote and produce our Snapchat channel as a publisher, and responsible for growing audience and being on brand and like figuring out where we exist on the platform and all that stuff that like dips into platitude territory that we're not going to talk about. But that's another thing that I do, and I've been there for about 5.5 years, and it's been around for a little bit longer than that. It's been around for about 10 years, but 5.5 years is a ton of time to be at any company, I think, at this age, and it's even more time to be at a media company. And so it's weird, and people always ask me, like, why are you, like, I don't understand, like, why don't you hop jobs like 3 or 4 times? And there's a bunch of answers. I mean, I like the people, and I like, who I work with and all that stuff, but more importantly, like, I've always gotten a chance to, like, right when I'm, like, walking out the door, something new opens up. And they're like, oh, you should, like, we need someone to do this. Like, I'm like, all right, like, I have to switch, like, dental insurance and everything if I get a new job. Like, I should just, like, it's probably, like, easy. I figure out the new commute and everything. Like, it's probably easier to just stay. But you guys don't know that I'm serious or not, do you? Have you ever signed up for dental insurance? It's a pain in the ass. But no, I came up to New York after I graduated at the University of Virginia in 2010, crashed on a buddy's couch in Chinatown. For 6 months, I had an internship at Thrillist. It was unpaid, because back then that wasn't like totally verboten to like have unpaid interns, whereas now like it's pretty frowned upon, as it should be, but I didn't know any better. And I was running out of money. Basically, I was just here to like spend money. At that point, that was my career, was like buying like $4 worth of dumplings, which is 16 dumplings, if anyone's keeping track. It's a lot of dumplings. And this one week, it all came down to it, and I was basically out of money. And I was like, all right, here are the options. I can either move back with my parents in New Jersey and look for a job from there. I could take this job that I'd landed a job offer at this pharmaceutical advertising company, agency, doing technical copywriting. And I did not want this job. For obvious, no offense to anyone who does technical copywriting at a pharmaceutical advertising firm, but it wasn't me. I was not enthused about it, and I was like, fuck, like I'm gonna have to do this. Like I'm not moving home, because like then you gotta come back in the whole deal. I'm gonna do this. That week, someone quit at Thrillist. We were a smaller company then. We were like 55 people, and our editorial team was like 20 people. We didn't have like a hiring strategy or anything. Like everyone just like, oh, this person quit, like everyone move up one. And like, I went from like, it's honestly how it happened. They like didn't even interview me. They're like, all right, like you're an employee now. It's like, what does that mean? And I moved up, and I was an editorial assistant, and I've sort of been there ever since. Media's a really weird industry. I don't understand it at all. I write, so like I stay as far away from the salespeople as humanly possible. We're like seated on the other side of the office, and I like when I'm going to the kitchen by them, I like move fast. But it's tough, right? Like there's a ton of different stuff going on in the media. You never know if it's like good or not. Everyone's mean, everyone's stressed. It's just this like terrible wasteland, right? Like people, like everyone accuses you of like, when you do a listicle, like everyone's like, oh, it's like clickbait, like typical like Thrillist, blah, like whatever. This list is invalid. That's like one of our favorite ones at the office. It's like people like scroll through like favorite like tater tot shops and be like, what? Like my tater tot place, my favorite one's not on it. This list is invalid. Like, it's great. And it's like always like the person who like says that is like always like either a long haul trucker or employed itself, you know? And it's like, you're just like, fuck man, like get off our site and go do something that's not here. But this is, you know, it's sort of a pain to work. And then when you publish something substantial, like a malt liquor history, like the quotes at the bottom are like, too long, didn't read. And it's like, all right, we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them somewhere in the middle there. So it's frustrating. So the question then becomes, well, if it's so bad, then like, why don't you do something else? And I think a lot of people have had this sort of, you know, existential, call it a crisis, like what, do I actually like doing this? And I can answer that question with a resounding yes, and it all comes back to validation in writing for me. And there's like rare instances where the planets align and you write something that you're really proud of and that's substantial and that you think advances like this intellectual idea that is challenging and whatever, and then that thing goes viral. It's the best feeling in the world. There's absolutely, I don't do drugs, but there's absolutely nothing, can't you tell? There's absolutely nothing, I assume it's something similar to like a narcotic situation where you're watching your piece on Chartbeat and it is just dominating and you're just like, people like me, like, you know, and it's incredible, it's electric, and like, it's sort of an ongoing joke amongst writers, I think, at least writers at our company, like when your piece is like on the top of Chartbeat, like you don't get anything done that day because you're just watching the screen. You're just like, oh, it's like 650 people. All right, oh, 669 people. All right. So for mom and dad, Chartbeat. Yeah, real quick. It's like a stock ticker, and anyone else in the room. Sorry, I didn't mean to single you guys out. Anyone else in the room, it's like a stock ticker, more or less, where you plug it into your website's back end, basically, and it tracks how many people are reading or on different pages of the site. So, and that translates on a content site into reading different articles on the site. So you can tell in real time how something's doing, how something's performing from a traffic standpoint. And so when it's not doing well, no one wants to look at Chartbeat because it's just like, it's like a graveyard. But when it is, like everyone's like crowded around the screen, like look at the spike, like oh my God, it's great. That's what Hit Spike is. We should have brought the video out then, the song. That's what Afternoon Hit Spike is. I can bring it back. No, let's leave it where it is. But yeah, all right, so that sounds very shallow, right? Like, sort of like the only reason you're in this is to like, you know, be validated. But validation is really fucking great. And I'm not sure if you're supposed to be so candid about this, but I do think it's important to be transparent with you guys. And I want more of that feeling. So sometimes I even freelance. I write for Thrillist, but I also am a freelancer for a bunch of different publications. And the way it works basically is if I have an idea that doesn't fit with Thrillist's editorial mission for one reason or the other, I might go take it to a different publication and write it for them. So this happened over the summer. I took a piece to Mashable about the death of the hipster and about how the hipster is sort of like this empty vessel term and like didn't really mean anything anymore because it's like, you know, this was 2015 at this point. Like Williamsburg had been over for, you know, I moved into Williamsburg in 2010 and like it was over when I moved in and like it's like definitely over now. It's all condos now. And it's like all right, so there's got to be some other term. So I came up with this term, the young urban creative, the yucky. And right, like, which is a, you know, yuppie is sort of the thing that was the term in the 80s, young urban professional. So it was a riff on that, and I wrote this trend piece about it. And the scary thing about trend pieces is like you sound like a colossal asshole no matter what. And so it's really like nerve-wracking before you publish these things because you're like, oh my God, like everyone's seen a bad New York Times trend piece, right? Like where it's like they have no idea what they're talking about. You don't want to be that, so that's what failure looks like. But this piece didn't fail, it did really well. We were really lucky. It went viral for all the right reasons. I think like it was a challenging idea. People landed on both sides of it. People, you know, wanted to engage with this, and there was sentiment that like, yeah, like I do agree with that. There's something missing about the hipster, whatever. Like, but I got interviews from. I got a newscaster in Russia called me and like wanted to get me on their talk show via Skype. I did radio interviews. I did TV. I did I did like the NPR for Canada, whatever that's called. Like, so I'm like Canadian, maybe it's CNPR. I don't know. But and it was like this really incredible feeling, right? Like, and I don't think it's just being shallow, or maybe it is. Maybe this is all just self-rationalizing, and I need you guys all to nod and like let me move on. But I do think that like, you know, we all put in a ton of work. I assume most of the people here work in digital fields, media, content creation, whatever, and like that's yourself. It's not like all of yourself, but like you're putting yourself out there, and like when you put yourself out there, whether it's in a piece, you know, a trend piece, or a malt liquor history, or a tweet, or a snap, you want to know that it got to where it was going. So you want to know that like someone saw it, and you're not just shouting into the void like Jim Gaffigan said. And you also hopefully like want to know that like, you know, maybe some people agree with your point of view. And when that does happen, and when it happens not on like a listicle of like cat gifs, but like on like something that you like put some like time and like intellectual capital into, it's this really amazing feeling. It's awesome. And so hopefully that explains a little bit more why I chase that relentlessly. But back to Snapchat, because again, 100 viewers, no one's impressed, and I get it. Got to be a little bigger than that on the platform. So the turn sort of happened for me on Snapchat when this guy named Casey Neistat shouted me out on his Snapchat. He was on the platform back then. He since has developed his own app called Beam, which is pretty cool. There might be some Beamers in the room. But he shouted me out, and overnight, literally overnight, I had a Snap story up. I went to bed, it was like 97, I was like 100, come on, 100, we're gonna get there. And I woke up in the morning and it was like 20,000 people opened the Snap. And it was terrifying. I was like, thought I was like, oh, what do I do? Like, I was like, turned to Katie, I was like, should I delete it? I don't know. It might be the government. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, you know, it was such an order of magnitude that I thought it was a glitch, and I sort of didn't get it, especially since I didn't know that he had shouted me out. We know each other sort of professionally. We were gonna make a video at one point about an article that I wrote, and like, he was like, we were gonna do it, and like, I was busy working, and like, he was busy like skateboard base jumping off a fighter jet in Dubai or something. And so it never ended up happening. But we always sort of kept in touch, and he's just got a razor sharp mind for media and really enjoys it. And he's one of these dudes who just like totally gets it. And so it was really awesome to be able to talk to him about this stuff and go back and forth. But we still had never even met at this point. I didn't even know he followed me on Snapchat. So it took a while to like track down like where this was coming from. And when I did, it sort of all made sense, and I decided not to delete it. But one of the things that hit me when that happened, like the week following or so, when like all these people, also it was like an overwhelming majority of like Scandinavian teenagers. It was like all kids from like Norway and Sweden. It was the weirdest thing ever. They're like, I'm Yoon, I love you. And it was like, I don't know what you're saying to me. But I was hit with this anxiety. Like, it started to sort of grow as I realized, like, wow, like I have this audience. Like, I have to entertain these people. I have to keep creating content. Like, and I don't skateboard base jump off anything. So like, what the fuck am I gonna do to like keep these guys interested? And I think I learned, and I think that this is true, or at least it's true for me, that that's a fallacy, or it's at least not a healthy way of thinking about it. And people who create content for a living, I bet you a lot of them would agree. What I think is what you have to do is like, you have a responsibility not just to entertain these people, but to like entertain yourself first, because anything that you're doing on the platform, you were doing when no one was watching, and if no one starts, if everyone starts ignoring you and not watching in, at least you're still entertained by doing it in the first place, right? Like, you still have something to be like, cool, like, I like, sometimes, like, I used to do this in college a lot when everyone had digital cameras, because phones didn't have cameras as much yet. Who just scoffed? But I would grab someone's camera, like someone had left it on the table or whatever, and we were at a party and no one was paying attention. I would grab the camera and just take tons of photos of myself just walking around the room, just like looking in the weird stuff. And that's a joke that had no payoff, right? Except that I got a huge kick out of it, to know that someone, like the next morning or like a week later, would be like going through their pictures and be like, who the fuck is this kid? And that's like a good example of like something that there's no ulterior motive, there's no real, the validation that I'm getting it's a closed loop. It's just like, oh man, like I think that's funny, I'm gonna do that. And if you can always sort of look to that and have that be the thing that steers you into like how you create content and like what you do on any platform or in any situation where you're expressing a stance on something, I think that you automatically have a leg up on a lot of people, because a lot of people are not doing that. A lot of people are determined to say the thing or to perform the thing that they know people want to see. But the problem is people are fickle, and the internet is made out of, it's comprised of extremely fickle people because they're all teenagers and mean. And you can't always count on them to like the things that you think they're gonna like. So what you have to do is do stuff that you like and just sort of hope for the best. But it's a lot of internet shit. So the next thing I wanna talk about is the mail. Like sending postal service mail. I wanted to see, just because I think I'm in the minority here, like how many people in the last like 3 months or so have sent something in the mail that wasn't a rent check or like tax stuff, no adult shit? Dad, no. Yeah, okay, so like a few of you, like, and what was it, mostly cards? Was it greeting cards? Everyone's nodding cards. So like mail, I think that's where mail exists for a lot of people that are in my generation, that are in my age group and my cohort or whatever. It's obsolete, but it's also great. I love the mail, and I love it partially because it's obsolete, but I also love it because there's nothing better in my mind than getting something in the mail. It's the best fucking feeling in the world. Sometimes, like, I ordered garbage bags off Amazon this week, and the box showed up, and I forgot that I had ordered them, and I was like, what did I get? Oh, damn it. Damn it. But still, like, I think that there's it's like a Pavlovian response, I guess. Pavlovian, whatever, response, where it's like, something is coming, there's gonna be a threshold, and there's gonna be a reveal, and I'm really excited about it. And when it's from someone, even someone you haven't heard from in a while, maybe especially someone you haven't heard from in a while, there's that same wave of validation where it's like, wow, like that was awesome that they thought of me. They remembered that like I exist, that like we're friends, and like, wow, that's cool. Like that's a nice feeling, right? So that brings me to what I'm gonna say next. So I started sending my fans mail, and they're all kids, so it's a little weird, because I'm 27. But I started sending my fans mail, and this sort of works in a way that's inverse from the way the traditional dynamic of I don't consider myself a celebrity, but like celebrity works. People send celebrities fan mail, but like, fuck that, that's stupid and no one does that anymore anyway. So I thought it'd be fun to start sending my fans mail. So it's fan mail, but just going in the other direction. And I would send them, and I started making stickers for myself. I think I have stickers here. So if anyone wants some, whatever. I'll mail you some. I started sending them stickers. I would write notes. I would sign them Uncle Dad. I had like this moment of like huge anxiety when I wrote all these notes, and they're all funny and whatever, and I'd signed all of them Uncle Dad, because Uncle Dad's one of the things I call myself in the Snap stories, and it's just like sort of an inside gag, and it's become a little bit of a persona. And I like drop them off in the mailbox, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, man. And then I'm like doing the math in my head. I'm like, all those kids are teenagers. There's this kid no one knows, sent a picture of himself, signed the note Uncle Dad. And I'm realizing that like the people who get mail at a home are always the parents. Kids don't care about mail. So the parents are gonna see this envelope and be like, yo, what was in the mail? They're like, oh, Uncle Dad sent me a picture. And I got like so anxious. I think I came back to the office and was like G-chatting with my girlfriend and be like, what should I do? Like, I already put these in the mail. Should I like call the post office and see if they can get them out of the mail? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like, so it was this really weird situation that I got myself into. But it went fine. No one called the FBI, and or that I know of. Maybe they're here tonight. But my fans who are basically my online friends, they loved it. They loved getting stuff in the mail, and I think there's a novelty component to it. I also think that there's a huge validation to it. Like, getting something physical in the mail and being like, wow, like, I have a relationship with this person. We don't really know each other, but we don't not know each other. Because, like, you don't send mail to a complete stranger, right? And, like, just the act of sending mail creates more of a bond with that person. And it's weird, and like you guys get the same jokes, but you don't really like have anything in common. And one of you is 13, and one of you is 27. But maybe we're gonna edit that out of the video. But yeah, no. But I think like it's really cool that there's this bond that you're like, wow, like he gets me, I get him, I get that he gets me, and like, we're all just gonna send mail to each other, right? So, send more mail. That's the message. That's it. No. I know that all sounded like an ad for the Postal Service, but it wasn't, though that's my attempt at a segue to talk about branded content. So, just, let me have that. Branded content. So, people always ask, like, yo, do you like make money off your Snapchat? Like, you must like do stuff for brands or whatever. And the short answer is no, I don't, because I have a job called writing, and called writing, not called speaking apparently. But I have a job, and it's writing, and that's my primary career, and that's dominates most of my time, and it's also the thing that I get a paycheck from. So it's the thing that I always am going to put first right now as it stands. Even if I was in between jobs, or if I was decided to do this thing full time and be like a brand consultant / influencer, which like I have friends who do it, and like people make a living that way, and it's awesome. But if I was going to do that, my opinion would be totally different. But where it stands right now is one, it's a luxury, but I have Snapchat because I like Snapchat, and I have my life online because like I love being on Twitter, and like I love Instagramming like lattes that I didn't even drink, and like all that good stuff, And if I like that and I don't want to not have that, I don't ever want to really put something in between me and that enjoyment. And I think that this big scary thing, having spoken to a lot of influencers and working on, in a media context, and sort of understanding one of the big anxieties is like putting a brand's agenda in between you and the people who you have fun with, and who came to you because they like hanging out with you basically. And so because this is my career, I have a luxury of saying like, no, like I've been approached with a couple opportunities, and like I appreciate it, and it's very flattering, but it's just like never really something I've considered seriously, because it's not, it's not something it's not worth the risk, basically, like, of pissing off my fans. Like, my agenda is, like, to show them more pictures of myself with garbage. And, like, that's, if they like that, like, I don't know if they're gonna like tortilla chips. But let's see. Hold, please. All right, so this gets to the, like, this is as close as we get to cliche, I think. And I kind of hate this part of the speech, but we'll do it anyway. If I were going to work for a brand, it would be a brand that I really believed in, right? And a brand that, like, believed in me. I think that would be critical for me, evaluating the situation and deciding whether or not to do it. Because the last thing that you want to get into is like, oh, we love your stuff, we love like everything you do, and then like you do the things that you do, and they're like, we hate this, like, can we change this up? Can we tweak this stuff? Like, can we do this? Can we do that? And that's just not something I really want to be a part of. Now that sounds really idealistic, which is also the reason I don't do this stuff, because I don't think you ever get that perfect situation, but that's really the only thing that I would ever sort of cross the line and do branded content for. And as a writer, and as someone who like practices journalism, I'm always like sort of keen on disclosing like what it is that, like, where I'm coming from. Like when I put products on my Snapchat, like I make it a point to say like they didn't pay me. They like sometimes they send stuff to me, but like it's like, hey, they sent this to me. Like they're not paying me to say this. I just happen to like this stuff, right? I think like there's like an ethical line that like it's our responsibility as content creators to pay mind to, and everyone's going to find their own line on that, but having an awareness for it, I think, is important. Yeah, so this is sort of apropos of nothing, but it pertains to doing stuff that amuses you, and only you. So I've been taking the stairs at work since like October for exercise. It's good. You guys should take the stairs if you want to. And on the second floor landing of our building in Soho, which is only like a block or so away, there's a half-eaten dinner roll, and it's been there for 4 months. It's been there since October, and it's never moved. I go by it twice a day at least. Then if I go out for lunch, I go back, got to take the stairs again, can't take the elevator. So at least twice a day, minimum. And it hasn't moved a fraction of an inch in 4 months. And I've actually gone up to it and tried to see if it was like glued to the floor or something. Like that's how static this thing is. It's not, but it sits there. And so recently, I don't know, I was delirious. I was coming out of work late. It was like 9:30. I had filed like a draft of this malt liquor piece. This is recent. This is like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. I was walking down the stairs and I just see this fucking roll, and I'm like, this is weird and like very amusing. Like I should document this, because the only thing funnier than like this by myself is like this and like showing people that I'm by myself with this dinner roll. And so I took a photo of it. And I took a couple photos of it and like, whatever, took a selfie with it. And I basically explained like all the things that I just explained to you guys, like, hey, it's been there for all this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I sent out like a bunch of tweets about it, probably like 5 or 6 tweets, like just deranged, like, yo, look at this roll, man. Like, and that's an example of a joke that is only a joke for me, and I think is like something that like you gotta do to keep yourself sane, and everyone has jokes like that. Like everyone has like little things that they notice in their day, and they're like, oh, like, if like a dude like always eats like tuna sandwiches at your office, you're like, this fucking guy, here we go with tuna, Mr. Tuna over here. Whatever it is, you have like these little things, and like that's where I think social media and this idea of validation really plays in, because like you have an opportunity to take that little thing and put it on the internet and put it out in front of people who might also have their own little things and might get a kick out of yours. And like, then guess what? You have a bond. Like you have this weird connection with this person. So with the hashtag is RollWatch2016. So you can check that out on your own time. Please focus up here for now. But I started posting these tweets, and I thought I thought people would ignore them because Twitter's fast, and like even I don't have that many followers. I only have like 4,600 followers. So it's like not a huge following. So like there's no guarantee that there's going to be any engagement on any one tweet. but about 30 people favorited it, which is not retweeting. So like favoriting is kind of bullshit, but it's something, right? They like saw this and they were like, they got some part of it. They like were amused enough by it to be like, all right, like I see what's going on here, or I don't know what's going on, but like I like that it's going on. You know, like anything, like it's something, and like I believe that it's something special. I think it's cool that they understand how funny it is that there's a half-eaten dinner roll on the floor and it's been there for 4 months, and we share that, and that's, I think, a very powerful connection. We'll stop talking about dinner rolls now. So I mentioned, how much time do I have? Am I good? Keep it rolling. Lock the doors. We're here all night. So that's the worst case scenario, right? Is like you end up with like 6 or 7 tweets about like a dinner roll and no one laughs at them. And you're like, oh yeah, I am a fucking weirdo. Like that's enough of that. Go back into your cage. The best case scenario is that someone sees what you're doing and that person, someone like a Casey Neistat, has enough enough connection with what you're doing to be like, I get that, and I think other people get it, and I think that people will like it if I put them onto this, if I show them this thing, like if I do this. And that's the organic growth of like a social media channel that like you cannot buy. You cannot fake being weird and like having weird jokes and having little memes and having little like oddball gags that only longtime followers are gonna get. But if you do have those things, and if you do grow your audience like that, you have this incredibly powerful community. And I consider, like, it's ridiculous as an adult standing from a room of other adults to like to talk about my online friends. Sounds like I'm talking about like imaginary friends, but I'm not, they exist, I swear. But I do consider this community, like, not in a cheesy way. Like, I know, what the fuck's it? Jerome, who's like a really famous Viner, he says like friends, not fans, right? Like that's like his thing. I don't think I mean it quite the same way as he does. Like I like know a lot of these people, like not in person, but like we talk on like Snapchat and we like send mail to each other, and like they have like transcended from like being like online friends to being like IRL friends, and that's like a really cool, I value that. I think that's really cool, and I think it's something that I get to do, and it's a privilege to be able to do that. So that's the personal side of Snapchat. That's Infante. That's what I do on the way to the office every day. Once I'm at the office, I'm either writing about high ABV, like 40-ounce bottles of liquor, or I'm running the Thrillist Snapchat channel. And the challenge is, I figured this might be maybe interesting to you guys to like understand how I look at it and how we look at it, the differences between a personal influencer, a single influencer on Snapchat, and a publisher on Snapchat. Not on Discover. We're not in one of those tabs. We're just an organic channel, which I frankly prefer because I don't really like Discover. But yeah, no. So there's a difference, right? Like you're doing different work. You have to be aware of brands. You have to be aware of how you want to present the brand in a mobile context, in a Snapchat context, what's native to the platform. These are all things that get like thrown around in meetings that like no one really has any idea what they mean. And what it comes down to is like, I think even when you're manning a brand Snapchat, this is my personal opinion, and like opinions vary, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room, their opinion is different than this, but even when you're manning a brand Snapchat, it has to exist within a person and a personality, because the intimacy of the platform is such that like it's just you and them. You're just talking to the people who are watching you, and it sets up this dynamic that sort of like reminds me of what you would hear about like old school like radio or old school TV, where like the people who tune in like trust the anchor, and they're like, oh, like that's Walter Cronkite, I can hear him, like I was not alive when Walter Cronkite was on, but like everyone knows that person's name, he's a famous broadcaster. I hear his voice, I trust what he's saying, that represents a relationship. I trust that person. That relationship means something to me. And I think that there's actually, weirdly enough, a parallel between that and Snapchat. And the reason is that, like, even as a brand, even as a publisher, where you have an agenda, and of course you want to report on things, you want to talk about stuff you're doing, you want to get the brand first and foremost. Ultimately, the trust level and the comfort level is all going to come from whether or not, like, this person on the screen gets where I'm coming from. And, like, they have little gags, and, like, I get their little gags. And, like, we're sort of on the same wavelength, or we're enough on the same wavelength that I will listen to this person talk for another 6 seconds and then tap through it. And, you know, that's Snapchat. That's the other side of Snapchat. Walter Cronkite didn't have to deal with that shit. But the idea for Thrillist is to give our readers the best, like, the things they love the most about the Thrillist experience on Big Web, which is like an industry term for, like, your desktop, on mobile. And not just on mobile, but on this really rich mobile format that's video, that's photo, that's drawing, that's all this stuff. How do we take something big like the 33 best cheeseburgers in the country and turn that into a really compelling Snap story? How do we do that? I don't actually know. But we're trying to figure it out. It's tough. It's a real challenge because editorial content is one thing, and there's been some success turning editorial content into vertical video and semi-video content on the Discover tab. But really, I don't think that anyone's cracked that code yet. We're trying to be one of the people that's pushing it forward, one of the publishers that's pushing it forward, because teens. It's all about the teens. And, you know, like, the only people who are creepier than me, like, with teens, are, like, advertisers who want to, like, talk to, they're like, do you talk to teens? Like, do you know any teens? We'd love to talk to your teens. Like, get the fuck away from me. But, like, you know, media is a business, and advertisers are an enormous part of the business, and they inform. I mean, in a bad case scenario, they inform the content. In a good balance, they inform the way the editorial department who creates the content thinks about where they need to go with it and how they need to be addressing it. So if you have an audience that's full of teenagers, you have a powerful audience, because those people are about to get their first credit cards and are about to decide what kind of deodorant they're gonna buy for the rest of their life, because no one ever changes deodorant brand ever. And, you know, whatever, that's the ad side. And like I said, I try to stay at arm's length from that. But it is something that we think about as publishers sort of indirectly, is like, all right, cool, like, we want to talk to the people that will be reading our site and that will be, like, consuming content on the internet in 2 years. We want them now. We want to talk to them now. We want to serve them now, because that's where the readership is. That's where it's going, you know? So the challenge is getting more people to watch. The challenge is figuring out the content. That's, like, one side of it. The other side of it is just, like, keeping it fresh and not falling into routine and not falling into a schedule and not just, like, programming out shit and, like, creating, like, the version of, like, the Snapchat version of clickbait and, like, getting people to watch, but, like, people aren't, like, really fucking with it and, like, they don't really like it. They just are being tricked into watching it or whatever. And that's personality, right? And that's maintaining your personality and maintaining who you are, either as a person or as a brand or as people representing a brand, and doing fun stuff. Like, we were doing a brainstorm recently, and I always come with, like, the most useless ideas to the brainstorm, because they're all, like, very, you know, out there. But I wanted to do a water balloon fight with queso cheese in the water balloons. And they're like, he was talking to my boss, he's like, how would we do this? I was like, well, you take the queso and you put it in the tin. He's like, no, where, like, how would we do this? Like, this is not a thing. But I think, like, I don't think we're actually going to end up getting to explore that idea any further. But I do think that having ideas like that and following them through and having, like, these weird little, you know, curiosities and obsessions and like, oh, that would be funny. This dinner roll would be fun. You know, like those things. If you pursue those things, you're gonna find yourself in a place where the content's very personal and it's very powerful, and you know, people are going to react to something personal and powerful like that. Maybe not the queso cheese, but like in general, the stuff. The last thing, sort of by way of wrapping up, and then we'll let you guys talk because I've been talking for a while. I'm gonna get another beer. But one thing I wanted to stress about this is that what we do as content creators, anyone in this room who does this for a living, it's very hard. And I don't say that to like pat myself on the back and be like, I work 15 hours a day. Like, I don't know why I just talked like that. Anyway, I don't know. It's hard and it's work, and that's something that a lot of people, a lot of the time, forget about this, is that being fun and being on and being inquisitive and creative and understanding of your audience and all that stuff, that's all work. Most people don't see all the stuff that goes into a 1.5-minute long Snapchat, but like people who've worked with me, or I mean, my brother won't even spend any time around me anymore because he hates it while I'm Snapchatting, because we're like, yeah, I gotta draw, shut up, like I gotta draw. And I'll be like, yo, say that thing again though, say the thing, you know. There's a lot to it. There's more than just the thing that you're seeing. And that goes for writing, that goes for tweets. I've worked on tweets for like literally years. I've had tweets in my drafts for years. Like I have this like anxiety that if I die before I get all my tweet drafts out, like they'll never see the light of day. And like I want to like, if anyone in the room wants to be in like a blood pact with me that like hack into each other's accounts and release the draft tweets. Yeah. But the job it's daunting and it's thankless, and you might get paid for what you want to do, but probably not off the bat. And if you do, it came too easy and you're going to get fired from that job because you don't know that it's awesome to be able to get paid for something that you like to do. And I don't look at, like, people come up to me on the street and, oh, you're Infante, oh my God, it's like meeting a celebrity. And it's very humiliating to me because they're always a teenager, which is humiliating. But more importantly, like, I don't look at myself as, I obviously don't look at myself as, I mean, look at me. Like, I don't look at myself as a celebrity. Like, I don't look at myself as someone who's made it. They're like, how did you like do this in your career? Like, man, I'm like 5.5 years in. Like, I haven't done fucking anything yet. Like, you know, this is not where I want to be in my career, but more importantly, it's not, I don't think, like, no one should feel stasis in this environment, in media, in publishing, in being people online, because if we've learned anything about the internet, it's that, like, there is no stasis. Like, everything you think you know is, like, gone. Chat rooms, man. There used to be chat rooms. That used to be the thing, like MSN.com chat rooms, and, like, that doesn't, I mean, actually, I think it still does exist, but like no one goes on them anymore. And that's like an example of something that was huge and then was gone. You know, the one that everyone likes to talk about is MySpace, like huge and then gone. And so I might get fired or laid off, or Thrillist might go under, or I might, it won't, it's fine. But this is a hypothetical, or a new app will come along, like Peach. Who's on Peach over here? Yeah, like, Sammie's on Peach. We got a bunch of people on Peach. And like, I'll be the first to admit, like, Peach is like, I don't really fucking get it. And that is, there's an obsolescence there, right? Like, I'm aging out. And like, my coworkers who are 3 years older than me aged out of Snapchat. They're like, I don't really understand why you would use this. This is weird. This is like whatever. And I was like, nah, man, it's like tons of fun. Like, you do the stories. And they're like, why would I do that? I just tweet. And it's like, I see that, and I saw it 3 years ago, and now it's happening to me. And so there is no stasis. Being a Snapchat personality or celebrity means nothing. And that's why I think it's really important to remember that, like, you gotta stay doing what you wanna do and doing the things that you can do and that amuse you or excite you or challenge you or make you curious or whatever. Because tomorrow, if no one opens my Snapchat story, I will probably still do the same things that I would do anyway, right? And like, even if you're back at square one and you're not getting that validation from tons of other people, you could still get it from yourself because you still find it funny, or you still find it challenging, or you still think it would be funny to take pictures of a dinner roll and post them on the internet for, you know, whatever. And that's, I think, the only thing you can count on is that relationship you have with yourself and being able to validate the things that you do and be like, I get it. I'm a weird kid and like, I like that. Like, that's funny and that's cool. So that's sort of my like emotional wrap up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this speech. I worked very hard on it. Hey, Jeff, you want to come up? You want to come on? Oh, thanks.
Broadway has the Tonys, Hollywood has the Oscars, and now social media has the Shorties.
Welcome everyone to the 7th annual Shorty Awards.
The Shorties are by far the most prestigious.
We are so proud to be part of the Shorty Awards.
Thank you, Shorty Awards.
Thank you for doing that. That was pretty cool.
I get a call, I gotta be at the Shorty Awards.
I'll speak from the heart.
Wow, that was awesome.
There is not a more passionate fan base out there.
Hi friends, what's up?
Thanks for the Best Singer Award. I really appreciate it.